Good evening, all. Or perhaps just the one. I see two people showing up in the chat, so I suppose others can join as they desire. I'm Gabe. I'm gonna do some poetry reading tonight. I called this Soft Words for Hard Times because that's so much of what is going on right now. I don't think there's any of us who believes that these times are easy or navigable. A couple of things to go into tonight's readings. Number one, this is a very different setup than what I had last time, so feel free to interact through the chat. Additionally, if you want to watch this later, you're obviously welcome to do that. There will be a copy posted to my channel. If you do enjoy it, it sounds like the most ridiculous YouTube thing to say, but like and subscribe so that you get notified if I'm ever live again or if I ever post new content. If you have any requests for other poems, feel free to throw them in now. I'll try to look at it and go back later. I think that I'm going to be doing... I haven't actually practiced any of these poems yet, so there's a number of them that are going to be very raw and very real. And I've read through some of them before, but that doesn't mean necessarily it's going to be a smooth read through, and I might stop, I might go back, I might start over. Those kind of things are just what happens with this kind of thing. I do want you to interact about the poems, though, between them. I'll try to let you know what I know about the poems, and some of these I just don't know much about. The poems struck me for one reason or another, and so I decided that it should be included in tonight's readings. So make sure you're dropping into the chat that is available in YouTube, and keep it respectful and definitely share your thoughts. First poem tonight is going to be A Prayer for My Daughter by H.B. Yeats, also known as Henry Yates. Honestly, this is one that is peculiar to me for a number of reasons, but I want to just jump into the reading, and then after I jump into the reading, I want your thoughts kind of on it, and if you don't have any, then I'll just move on to the next one. So here it is, A Prayer for My Daughter. Once more the storm is howling and half hid under this cradle hood and coverlid. My child sleeps on. There is no obstacle, but Gregory's Wood and one bare hill, whereby the haystack and roof-leveling wind, bred on the Atlantic, can be stayed. And for an hour I have walked and prayed, because of the great gloom that is in my mind. I have walked and prayed for this young child an hour, and heard the sea wind scream upon the tower, and under the arches of the bridge and scream in the elms above the flooded stream, imagining in excited reverie that the future years had come, dancing to a frenzied drum. Out of the murderous innocence of the sea, may she be granted beauty and yet not, beauty to make a stranger's eye distraught, or hers before a looking glass, for such being made beautiful overmuch. Consider beauty a sufficient end, lose natural kindness, and maybe the heart-revealing intimacy that chooses right and never finds a friend. Helen, being chosen, found life flat and dull, and later had much trouble from a fool, while that great queen that rose out of the spray, being fatherless, could have her way, yet chose a bandy-legged smith for a man. It's certain that fine women eat a crazy salad with their meat, whereby the horn of plenty is undone. In courtesy I'd have her chiefly learned. Hearts are not had as a gift, but hearts are earned by those that are entirely beautiful, yet many that have played the fool. For beauty's very self has charm made wise, and many a poor man that has roved, loved, and thought himself beloved, from a glad kindness cannot take his eyes. May she become a flourishing hidden tree, that all her thoughts may like the linnet be, and have no business but dispensing round their magnanimities of sound. Nor but in merriment begin a chase, nor but in a merriment a quarrel. Oh, may she live like some green laurel, rooted in one dear perpetual place. My mind, because the minds that I have loved, the sort of beauty I have approved, prosper but little, has dried up of late, yet knows that to be choked with hate may well be of all evil chances chief. If there's no hatred in a mind, assault and battery of the wind can never tell the linnet from the leaf. An intellectual hatred is the worst, so let her think opinions are accursed. Have I not seen the loveliest woman born out of the mouth of plenty's horn? Because of her opinionated mind, barter that horn and every good by quiet natures understood. For an old bellows full of angry wind, considering that all hatred driven hence, the soul recovers radical innocence, and learns at last that it is self-delighting, self-appeasing, self-affrighting, and that its own sweet will is heaven's will. She can, though every face should scowl, and every windy quarter howl, or every bellows burst, be happy still, and may her bridegroom bring her to a house where all's accustomed, ceremonious, for arrogance and hatred are the wares peddled in the thoroughfares, but how in custom and in ceremony are innocence and beauty born. Ceremony's a name for the rich horn, and custom for the spreading laurel tree. I like that one. That's good. It has a lot of depth, a lot of kind of anguish between what the father knows of life and what he wishes for his daughter, and what he thinks might happen, and his own judgments about beauty and about sorrow and things like that. So yeah, that one works. I think that's good. Definitely let me know what you think if you want to chat about that. And if you also wanted to go and read it again, that was A Prayer for My Daughter by Yeats. So now I'm going to move on. I see there's about 5 of you watching me right now. I say watching even though I don't have a camera stream, and it's a little dark, a little smooth, a little mellow. That's okay. So I'm going to move on to Failing and Flying by Jack Gilbert. Everyone forgets that Icarus also flew. It's the same when love comes to an end, or the marriage fails and people say they knew it was a mistake, that everybody said it would never work, that she was old enough to know better. But anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Like being there by that summer ocean on the other side of that island while love was fading out of her, the stars burning so extravagantly, those nights that anyone could tell you they would never last. Every morning she was asleep in my bed, like a visitation. The gentleness in her like an antelope standing in the dawn mist. Each afternoon I watched her coming back through the hot, stony field after swimming. The sea light behind her and the huge sky on the other side of that. Listened to her while we ate lunch. how can they say the marriage failed? Like the people who came back from Provence when it was Provence, and said it was pretty, but the food was greasy. I believe Icarus was not falling as he fell, but just coming to the end of his triumph. That's a hard one. That's really... I didn't realize I was going to be reading one that had quite that depth to it. To see the marriage that should have failed and didn't, and to kind of own that the way that he did. That's really something. And the phrase, and I've seen it before, where it said, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Yeah, there's a lot to say about failure, and a lot to say about even the joy of failure there, the way that we didn't know what it was going to be when we started, or else maybe we wouldn't have spent time with it. Maybe we wouldn't have given ourselves to it if we'd known what it was going to be in the end. And yet, at the same time, there were good things. There were flashes of brilliance and light. Yeah, that's beautiful. So now something maybe a little bit more, I don't know, I don't want to call it contemporary, because it's not contemporary. It's at least, it speaks kind of to our present day. And it's a Robert Frost poem. I think it's Robert Frost. The prophets really prophesy as mystics, the commentators merely by statistics. So again, feel free to interact in the chat. Any thoughts, any suggestions, any comments, anything like that, I'd love to hear it. I think that would be great. With what unbroken spirit naive science keeps hurling our Promethean defiance from this atomic ball of rotting rock at the divine safe's combination lock. In our defiance we are still defied, but have not I, as prophet, prophesied. Sick of our circling round and round the sun, something about the trouble will be done. Now that we've found the secret out of weight, so we can cancel it however great. Oh, what avail our lofty engineers, if we can't take the planet by the ears, or by the poles, or simply by the scruff, and saying simply, we have had enough of routine and monotony on Earth, where nothing's going on but death and birth, and man's of such limited longevity, now in the confidence of newfound levity. Our gravity has been our major curse. We'll cast off Hauser for the universe. I like that one. That's good. That's good stuff. I like the idea of kind of the cynicism of an old man, and he's looking at the progress of people and kind of scoffing, and that's got some power to it. That's got some interest to it in my mind. That you've got a man who he just says, you know what, that this is we think we own the universe, and we just don't. So yeah, that really fits, I think, for our present day. I sure hope you guys can hear me. I'm fairly sure I'm transmitting here, but I'm not getting a lot of feedback from the viewers, so I'm just going to keep going, and we're going to hope for the best. This is a little bit more of a narrative poem by T.S. Eliot, and I think that it definitely has something interesting to it. I don't know. I like the imagery that he produces with this. So let's jump in. Hysteria by T.S. Eliot. As she laughed, I was aware of becoming involved in her laughter and being part of it until her teeth were only accidental stars with a talent for squad drill. I was drawn in by short gasps, inhaled at each momentary recovery, lost finally in the dark caverns of her throat, bruised by the ripple of unseen muscles. An elderly waiter with trembling hands was hurriedly spreading a pink and white-checked cloth over the rusty green iron table, saying, "If the lady and gentleman wish to take their tea in the garden, if the lady and gentleman wish to take their tea in the garden." I decided that if the shaking of her breasts could be stopped, some of the fragments of the afternoon might be collected, and I concentrated my attention with careful subtlety to this end. I like a narrative poem that tells a fun story that you don't fully know what's going on. You don't really get the whole picture of it, but you get pieces, you get bits, and I definitely see that with what's occurring here. I see this nature of kind of maybe a scandal, maybe a moment between these two lovers, and the way that they're this old man waiter is kind of trying to entreat them to go somewhere, to do something, to leave him alone, maybe give him something back, and then there's this moment where he talks about, I decided that if the shaking of her breasts could be stopped, some of the fragments of this afternoon might be collected. And I don't know if that means that she's laughing or that she's shaking for some other reason. There's a secret in this little narrative poem, and I very much enjoy poems that hold a secret. And in a lot of ways, I think poems, all poetry, holds some kind of secret or another. So yeah, that works for me. And now we're going to do something more modern. So this is, let's see, what is this one? 6 Revisions by Jane Huffman. The doctor holds my chest against the discus, listening like the fish below the ice listens to the fisherman. Medicine, he says, is not an exact science. He listens like the ice fisherman listens to the fish. I breathe into the nebulizer and think about translation, inexact art, a fine particulate mist. Snow has fallen on, still green grass, daubed with yellow leaves. 3 takes on a line from St. Augustine's Confessions. An acquaintance posted one online to the delight of followers of us, and in delight, I went to the source, the lexicon. 3 alike, online translators, some fishy, copied, pasted, fished out of the public sphere, and each rings like a different key. Snow has fallen on yellow grass, daubed with still green leaves. Poor old pear thief Augustine, half biographer. 1. Where should my heart flee to in escaping from my heart? 2. Where could my heart flee to in escaping from my heart? 3. For where could my heart flee from my heart? Grass has fallen on still white snow daubed with yellow leaves. In the first translation is a hammering, should, a moral judgment, an oiled object laid bare on a linen bed. Shouldn't, tied around the should with butcher's string. In the second, a yip, a certainty, desperate in its forwardness. Where could, as if the possible eluded him, to boot denied its final mark, the thought falling from where could, like rain from a cloud, a vanishing source. Grass has fallen on yellow, snow-daubed, with snow-white leaves. This will cut the cough off from the brain, the doctor says. Offers me a tiny cup of codeine orange syrup. The ache escapes like orange silk out of my orange lung. I slide into a mirror of my feelings, my face enlarged, expanding like a sponge. I grab at it. The doctor says, I lost it in the war. He's talking about his thumb. Yellow leaves have fallen on white, snow-daubed, with still green grass. In the third Augustan translation is a thrum. For where could my heart flee from my heart? The thrum escaped the darkness of the drum. No two this time. The two escaped the darkness of the from. Yellow leaves have fallen on green grass, daubed with still white snow. So that's a modern piece, but I really like it. I like that it includes bits from Augustine's Confessions. I see Mike H. from Twitter is in the chat. He says I have a soothing voice. And I'm very glad of that. I actually am coming to like my own voice. Maybe not in a vain way, I hope. But I think I may actually be beginning to like part of it. I don't know. It's hard for me to like things about myself, but my voice, I think my voice has at least something in it. Maybe there's something of the real me in there somewhere. But back to the poem. I really like that there's a stake that she plants in each stanza. So it's that snow has fallen, grass has fallen. And it's all kind of swirling around. It's like this haiku. But it's not a haiku. It doesn't follow those rules, but it's structured like one. But those things are swirling, this time, this place, and they're all swirling about the quotes from Augustine. Where should my heart flee to in escaping from my heart? As someone who has recently become engaged with my own mental health struggles and trials, yeah, where could my heart flee to in escaping from my heart? And that staccato at the end, I mean, it's even written this way. It's for where could my heart flee from my heart? That's really good stuff. So now we are going to move on to another one. We've got, this one is actually a request that I got off of Twitter from Laura, my good friend Laura. So this one is, I believe, if I'm going to pronounce this correctly, and forgive me, I don't pretend that I know every pronunciation, but I'm thinking it's Marginalia by Billy Collins. Sometimes the notes are ferocious. Skirmishes against the author, raging along the borders of every page in tiny black script. If I could just get my hands on you, Kierkegaard or Connor Cruise O'Brien, they seem to say, I would bolt the door and beat some logic into your head. Other comments are more offhand, dismissive. Nonsense. Please. Ha! That kind of thing. I remember once looking up from my reading, my thumb as a bookmark, trying to imagine what the person must look like who wrote, Don't be a ninny, alongside a paragraph in the life of Emily Dickinson. Students are more modest. needing to leave only their splayed footprints along the shore of the page. One scrawls metaphor next to a stanza of Eliot's. Another notes the presence of irony 50 times outside the paragraphs of a modest proposal. Or they are fans who cheer from the empty bleachers, hands cupped around their mouths. "Absolutely!" they shout to Duns Scotus and James Baldwin. "Yes, bullseye, my man." Check marks, asterisks, and exclamation points rain down along the sidelines. And if you have managed to graduate from college without ever having written Man versus Nature in a margin, perhaps now is the time to take one step forward. We have all seized the white perimeter as our own, and reached for a pen if only to show we did not just laze in an armchair turning pages. We pressed a thought into the wayside, planted an impression along the verge. Even Irish monks in their cold scriptoria jotted along the borders of the Gospels, brief asides about the pains of copying, a bird singing near their window, or the sunlight that illuminated their page. Anonymous men catching a ride into the future on a vessel more lasting than themselves. And you have not read Joshua Reynolds, they say, until you have read him enwreathed with Blake's furious scribbling. Yet the one I think of most often, the one that dangles from me like a locket, was written in the copy of Catcher in the Rye I borrowed from the local library one slow, hot summer. I was just beginning high school then, reading books on a Davenport in my parents' living room, and I cannot tell you how vastly my loneliness was deepened, how poignant and amplified the world before me seemed when I found on one page a few greasy-looking smears, and next to them, written in soft pencil by a beautiful girl I could tell, whom I would never meet. Pardon the egg salad stains, but I'm in love. Okay, so I have to definitely shout out to Laura on that one. That's a fantastic poem. Gosh, I almost want to read it again. That was so good. And I get it. I get it. It just suddenly just reaches into my soul. Because I've been that person who's scribbled into the margins. And then I've been that same person who was afraid to scribble into the margins. When I was a pastor, there was a young woman in my quote-unquote flock, and I had to give her a pen and paper and things to write on, and I told her to bring journals and things while I would preach, because she couldn't be still with her thoughts. She couldn't sit there and have just thoughts when she was listening. She had to interact with something, and so she did. She interacted. And I remember receiving a journaling Bible, and in the margins, it's got these big, thick, fat margins. They're lined for notes. And it was bound in leather, and it had this beautiful strap that went around it, and it was supple, it was brown, it was beautiful. And I remember she told me that she had to overcome this fear of writing in a Bible. That the Bible, not the words themselves were sacred, but the literal book was sacred. And I tried so hard to explain to her that the words were sacred, but you can react to them. Everyone does. Everyone has to. We aren't human without some form of reaction to them. And I love the way the poem ends with the egg salad, just because. Yeah, it's great. Because it's like he builds you up to this place, and then just gently drops you right on a shelf, right there between dusty old volumes, probably Proust or something like that, just right there. Pardon the egg salad stains, but I'm in love. And I like that he mentions Baldwin. I actually went and looked at a couple of Baldwin poems, and though I am not opposed to using, let's call it salty language, and you'll see that there is a rather salty poem coming up. James Baldwin has he has language that belongs to him, and I just I can't bring it out. But speaking of salty language, I think I can bring out this next one. So the following poem is called "Feeling Fucked Up" by Etheridge Knight. Lord, she's gone, done left me, done packed up and split, and I with no way to make her come back, and everywhere the world is bare, bright bone white, crystal sand glistens, dope, death, dead, dying, and jiving drove her away, made her take her daughter and her smiles, and her softness, and her midnight sighs. Fuck Coltrane and music and clouds and drifting in the sky. Fuck the sea and the trees and the sky and the birds and alligators and all the animals that roam the earth. Fuck Marx and Mao. Fuck Fidel and Nkrumah and democracy and communism. Fuck smack and pot and red ripe tomatoes. Fuck Joseph. Fuck Mary. Fuck God. Fuck Jesus and all the disciples. Fuck Fannin, Nixon, and Malcolm. Fuck the revolution. Fuck freedom. Fuck the whole motherfucking thing. All I want now is my woman back, so my soul can sing. Some of y'all weren't ready for that. I can feel it. I wasn't fully ready for that. I knew what was in it. I'd read it. But yeah, that's a salty one. But I get it. I get the frustration, the cry of his heart. That point, that moment where everything is just dead and dying, and you have nothing but anger, and you're just holding on to that anger like a rope, and you don't want to let it go because you know there's darkness below it. And so you hold on to that anger, and you can feel that hemp grinding into your flesh, and you can feel that twist, and you can hear its groan, and you just can't let that anger go. Yeah, that's a good poem. That's one that makes you feel. And yeah, I like the rawness of it. I might have to do some more Etheridge Knight on another broadcaster. I don't know, maybe this one. I've only been at this about 30 minutes now, so. Okay, so this was another request from Twitter. This one is not necessarily my favorite Yeats. It's not bad. I don't dislike it per se, but it's definitely classic Yeats. So let's go with Among School Children. I walk through the long schoolroom questioning. A kind old nun in a white hood replies, "The children learn to cipher and to sing, to study reading books and history, to cut and sew, be neat in everything. In the best modern way, the children's eyes, in momentary wonder, stare upon a 60-year-old smiling public man. I dream of Lydian body bent above a sinking fire, a tale that she told of harsh reproof or trivial event that changed some childish day into tragedy. Told, and it seemed that our two natures blent into a sphere from youthful sympathy, or else to alter Plato's parable into the yolk and white of the one shell. And thinking of that fit of grief or rage, I look upon one child or to other there, and wonder if she stood so at that age. For even daughters of the swan can share something of every paddler's heritage, and had that color upon cheek or hair, and thereupon my heart is driven wild. She stands before me as a living child. Her present image floats into the mind. Did Quattrocento finger fashion it? Hollow of cheek as though it drank the wind and took a mess of shadows for its meat. And I, though never of Ledaean kind, had pretty plumage once, enough of that. Better to smile on all that smile and show there's a comfortable kind of old scarecrow. What youthful mother a shape upon her lap, honey of generation had betrayed, and that must sleep, shriek, struggle to escape, as recollection or the drug decide, would think her son, did she but see that shape, with 60 or more winters on its head, a compensation for the pang of its birth, or the uncertainty of his setting forth. Plato thought nature but a spume that plays upon a ghostly paradigm of things. Solider Aristotle played the taws upon the bottom of a king of kings. World-famous golden-thighed Pythagoras fingered upon the fiddlesticks or strings. What a star sang and careless muses heard. Old clothes upon old sticks to scare a bird. Both nuns and mothers worship images, but those candles light are not as those that animate a mother's reveries, but keep a marble or bronze repose. And yet they too break hearts. O presences, that passion, piety, or affection knows, and that all heavenly glory symbolize. O self-born mockers of man's enterprise. Labor is blossoming or dancing where the body is not bruised to pleasure soul, nor beauty born out of its own despair, nor blear-eyed wisdom out of midnight oil. O chestnut tree, great rooted blossomer, are you the leaf, the blossom, or the bowl? O body swayed to music, O brightening glance, how can we know the dancer from the dance? Looks like Mike had to step out of the stream, and that's all right. Everybody that comes here is honestly just blessing me to be in chat or to be in the sound of my voice. So I appreciate you all. Yeah, that poem is not my favorite of his, but it's not bad. It's definitely got that timelessness and kind of, I'm going to impress you with my observations that Yeats tends to have, at least in my opinion. Getting a bit parched. We're almost done, and I think when I'm done, unless somebody wants to stick around and discuss, I'm gonna shut it down after the not this poem, but the next one. This one is one of my own, and the title is called Bargain Bin. Like a caricature of a used car salesman, down on his luck, up on his doubts, I scrawl and scrawl, plans on torn up greasy napkins, how to save, how to escape, how to make it okay again. Like tattooing a dead body with makeup and gentle sprays of cheap perfume, hoping I'll love her. Love is no bargain, nor is it pure sacrifice. but some commingling of smoke and mirrors that need a polish and need a shine and need to be broken for more than 7 years ago. I reach to the bottom. I scoop through the layers of detritus and memories, hoping to find it. A lost ring in the park that first year, ill-fitting gold discarded. Cassandra spoke. I heard and laughed all the way to bitterness. Some of you maybe know what that was about. Some of you maybe don't. But, yeah, that's one of my own, and it's a hard one. So now we're coming to the close of the show, so to speak, so to say. And I have one last request here. Yet another by Laura. And this one, I am not going to Johnny Depp it because I'm not that good. Though I may like my voice, it is nowhere near as good as his is in this recitation. So yeah, let's jump into Jabberwocky. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momraths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the Tumtum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh, Callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momraths outgrabe. Hopefully that was okay. I don't know. I'll let you guys be the judges there. And that is all I've got for tonight. I've just spent 45 minutes reading poems into the void. So I hope that it was as good for you as it was for me. And I plan to do this more often. I think our hard times need more soft words. So until next time, friends, good night, sweet dreams.